Happy Leo season.
Happy Leo season. Happy Leo season.
Yes. I told my daughter today it was Leo season because she's a Leo rising. So I told her to
I
look
was
at.
thinking about how the sun is truly narcissistic.
Yes. Well, how could you?
Because, oh,
Okay.
well, we always talk about the sun in terms of light and shadow and all that stuff, but there's no shadows where the sun is. The sun is always shining, and it doesn't know, excuse my language, anything about shadows.
Right.
Shadows come when the sun encounters matter,
Right.
but that's not the sun's problem.
It's not the sun's problem.
No, so I think the sun is truly narcissistic in that it just shines. It just shines. It doesn't care what it runs into. That's
Just
your
deal with
problem if
it.
you're a
Just
tree
you deal
and
with
you
it.
cast a shadow.
Right?
Yeah,
Since you deal with it, I'm gonna just
that's
shine.
right.
Yeah.
And humans are down here trying to make meaning out of every shadow. Sun says, ha, go ahead, live it up.
Right.
Just a
Well,
thought.
what's that?
Just a thought.
Well, I could go into, yeah, my thinking on that, but I think what we really need to do is to really discuss this Mars conjunct Jupiter transit in Gemini that's coming up.
I could not agree more.
Good. Let's do that. Let's find out what, because it looks
Okay,
like
so let
that
me
already
lay
feels.
it out. Mars is in Gemini.
Yeah.
On the 14th of August, it will conjunct Jupiter, which is also in Gemini.
Okay.
Jupiter in Gemini is not the best because it's in its detriment.
Yes.
Jupiter is very expansive, and Gemini is every little thing. So it's a bit like over expansive. Anybody who's being affected by it would say, what's going on? There's just too much of everything. I was
Yeah.
talking to someone today who said, I'm just so busy. I'm just so busy. And then she said, some of it is actually good, but there's so much of it. It's hard to tell the difference.
Yes.
Hard to tell what's good and what isn't.
Like a manic feeling, like just like,
Manic. That's
yeah.
the word.
Yeah.
So Jupiter is going to culminate that, the Mars is going to culminate that conjunction on the 14th, but on the 16th, Mars is going to square Saturn.
Oh,
Saturn's in Pisces. Pisces says, well, Saturn says, no, you're not going to get away with all that. There's a price. There's consequences. You eat too much, you're going to have a problem or
right.
whatever. You'll have a lot of gas.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Or upset
Um,
stomach or whatever.
but probably more intense than that. So you could say between the 13th of August and I don't know if you want to get specific, the 17th of August, Mars is activating the Jupiter Saturn square, which is very intense because it's expansion and contraction. And right at the same time,
Ooh.
on a little bit later the same month, on the 19th, which is only 3 days after the 16th, Jupiter will square Saturn exactly. And that's the day of the full moon, which squares Uranus, which is very chaotic. Not to mention the day after Mercury is cazimi the sun. So there's a lot happening in August.
Let's
Oh,
but
yeah.
let's break that down. The image that comes to mind when you're talking is, when you have a cold glass and you pour hot water in it.
Tell me about it. Yeah, I just wrecked one of my favorite glasses.
Just
I mean,
recently?
my favorite cups. I had it on a marble countertop,
Yeah.
and I guess it was cold. Anyway, I poured in boiling water and poop,
That's
broke
when
in
you're
front of it.
talking, that is what I'm being reminded of, like, or kind of the opposite, like Jupiter is expanding, and then all of a sudden Saturn comes in and goes like, ah, and like
Yeah,
creates
yeah. It's
constriction.
exactly right. It's expansion and contraction.
Yeah. And then you've got these other elements of Uranus and Mercury and all of this stuff. So it does give this image of a glass. Yeah.
Yeah, there's breakage.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people who have the degrees in, like, say, immutable signs in particular, they're going to be affected by it more personally. And for other people, it'll be more about observing what's going on in the world or around, people around them or something. But it's a pretty intense configuration of energies, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like it, just energetically from what you've described. But
So,
can we
Jasper burned to the ground, I guess, more or less.
Mhm.
And you can't blame the fire on the astrology, but the project of having to figure out what to do, that's like what the Jupiter Saturn square is about. And the Jupiter Saturn square goes on for the rest of the year, right? But that's kind of what it is. It's like, okay, we have to, we could rebuild this and this and this, but maybe we shouldn't because there'll be more fires, and it's going to go round and round and round in terms of trying to find solutions to situations, I think, circumstances.
Okay, that's a good illustration. That's a good
Yeah,
illustration of
so obvious.
yeah, of a like a Uranus in Taurus maybe situation with the fire or just
Uranus and Taurus is pretty consistently climate change
mhm,
disasters.
mhm. Right. And then you've got the aftermath, which is illustrated in this Jupiter Saturn square with the planning and not knowing how to move ahead with the plans. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, it's like madly off in all directions, but you're not going to get away with it because of Saturn.
Right. Okay, good. Right. So it's Jupiter and Gemini that are trying to make the plans in all directions, and Saturn comes in and is like, okay, let's reel this in. Which can be good if you're off in so many directions, which Jupiter does. Um Jupiter and Gemini does, which kind of make like I get this image of like a hot a hot air balloon being
Well,
blown.
going where? Yeah.
Yeah,
Big
like
fart. Yeah.
blowing in all these directions, and Saturn's like, let's put some weight on this and bring it down, bring it on
Yeah.
down. That could be
Right.
really positive, right?
That's good. That's a good
Yeah,
image. Yeah, I
yeah,
like it. Yeah.
yeah.
So there's consequences to being over busy. In my personal life,
Mhm.
I have a circumstance that I can't not do. And it's meant I have to rearrange everything in my date book. I'm pretty organized, like I make appointments for people in advance, and I like to show up and I like them to show up, right? I'm a Taurus.
I can attest.
Unbelievable how much rearranging I have to do, but I can't not do what I have to do. So it's not like everyone's in charge I mean, it's important to know that everyone isn't in charge of of the manic energy. Like, it just
Yeah,
has to happen.
yeah. Yes. Yeah, and we can only do our best in the middle of it, right? We can only sort of
Right. And our best probably has to do with awareness.
Mhm.
I think where Gemini is a problem, the only hope is to watch the monkey mind, not to try and wrestle it to the ground.
That is very important advice. Yes. Don't ever try to wrestle with the Gemini. Don't ever.
Never,
Mentally.
right.
Yes. I've learned that.
Yeah. Gemini transits,
Yeah.
you just have to witness the monkey mind and breathe. You have
Yeah.
to always breathe.
Yeah.
Breathing, and Gemini is the mind and the breath.
Yes, it is. And the would it be the nervous system or would that be Mercury which rules?
Oh no, it's the nervous system. It's every synapse, where an electron or something jumps to the next one. And that's all
Right.
Gemini. Mm.
Right, which is seen in the symbolism of how much they like to communicate,
That's right. They're
just
always
like the synapses
hormones.
setting off.
Hormones are communicators. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. So, um, what I like to do is when you give dates, I like to write them in my day book. I don't know if
Very good.
people have day books anymore, but or wherever you write them. We should maybe make an app for this where you can write in your transits, and so you can.
Actually, it exists.
Okay.
Honeycomb.
Oh, nice.
Honeycomb calendars. This is a totally unsolicited plug. I don't know them at all, but anyway, they have a calendar. They're called Honeycomb Collective. And I've been using it for a few years. They give you every new and full moon, they give you a thing, but they give you on every page, they give you your transits in light blue and the transits of the day in gray. So it's really easy to see the difference.
Actually, I did have a honeycomb day planner, and it really helped me learn astrology because I was looking at it every day, and it was really helpful for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so having it written down, and then you can see, oh, this transit happening, and this is what it looks like. This is the
So what I do is I go through with a yellow highlighter
yeah.
and I underscore, for example, the day that Mars will absolutely square my moon, the exact day. I have
Right.
it under, actually, I did that one in red.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So if we're aware, August 14th to 17th looks like a hot
19th. Let's just go the whole way.
okay.
Yeah.
Is the full moon on the 19th?
Mm-hmm. The full moon's on the 19th, and the exact square of Jupiter and Saturn is also on the 19th.
Okay, let's break that down again for people that are slow with like myself that like
Not slow, but maybe not fluent. Yeah.
not fluent, exactly. Still learning the language. So on the 14th, Mars and Jupiter conjunct.
Right.
Okay. And then on the 16th, they both square Saturn.
On the 16th, Mars squares Saturn.
Okay. And
So you
then
could say between the 14th and the 16th, but you could say the 13th and the 17th. Mars is activating the Jupiter Saturn square.
okay. So whenever Mars shows up, it throws like a match on things or it lights things up or it enlivens.
Mars is definitely throws a match on the tinder. Yeah,
He brings the party.
that's right.
So
He brings a party.
he
Yeah.
brings the life force. Um, and then to the Mars Jupiter conjunction, the Mars, sorry, the Jupiter Saturn square.
That's right. And then in another corner of the zodiac,
Mhm,
at a similar time,
mhm.
there's Mercury has been retrograde. So Mercury's retrograde, I don't know, from August 5th. And on August 18th, the Sun and Mercury are conjunct. And that conjunction squares Uranus. So Mercury conjunct, Mercury cazimi, that's the word, squares Uranus. The Sun squares Uranus, and it just so happens to be a full moon. So the moon will also square Uranus.
Wow, that sounds
That's the
intense.
Democratic Convention day.
Oh my goodness.
Biden was really smart not to have to go there and fight for his position.
Okay. He must have an astrologer.
I don't know. He's a Scorpio. He doesn't need one.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's a lot to unpack just in that sentence. So these two very large events are happening in the sky. It's like if it were a movie, you'd show this one development and then you would show this other development. And then somehow,
Right. So that's exactly, you got it. That's
right.
right.
So then somehow on the 19th, they all come together and the strands
Somehow
of the
they do.
story have a
Right.
climax.
So I just hope they have really good Secret Service going on at that convention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because it sounds like when you've got planets like all the heavy, it's like having a party too. Like all the heavy hitters are there. All the heavy hitters are showing
No,
up.
Pluto's not really involved.
Oh,
Neptune's
thank,
not really involved.
that's good. That's
It's
a
Uranus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars, and Mercury. And Mercury becomes much more powerful when it's retrograde.
right.
I mean, Mercury's always powerful. It's always working in the background. Mercury's this, the psychopomp. Mercury's the mind. So
Mhm.
it's always the, but when it's retrograde, it asks us to pay more attention.
Right. 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 Okay. So, okay. So that's like write that in your book. I'm gonna write it in my book, August 13th to the 19th.
Yeah, and don't freak out about it. Pay attention to it.
Right. Well, I was telling my daughter and her boyfriend about the time that you told me that Uranus was going to square my moon. And I had it written in my day book. And I was so curious about it. I was so curious. And all you said was like, just, be aware it can be kind of explosive, So, and I was in my mind very curious, like, what could this be? What could this be? And it just so happened like I had, because I do massage, an Ayurvedic massage, I had a lot of oil that stayed on the sheets that I washed, and had them at a laundromat. I shoved them into a hockey bag, which I used to carry, and did it up. And little did I know that there was no oxygen in there. So I brought the laundry bag home, and I didn't unpack it right away. I just left it in my living room while I, went about the evening to, do whatever, be on the computer. So like 3 or 4 hours, and then I went to bed. Then I have no idea why, but I just shot up out of bed and ran into the living room, and the bag was ablaze. The first thought that I had was, oh my God, this is moon square my Uranus. But I was excited that the
Wow,
astrology matched it so well. There was a literal,
I guess so. You had an explosion of oil. That's wild. That's a funny story.
and
How did you
surprised
get
because
this? How did you put the fire out?
I just went and got the fire extinguisher and
Oh,
did it. Then there was no damage at all because there was enough sheets to keep it burning for a little while,
yeah.
that it didn't go on, it just stayed contained in the bag. So I'm very lucky, very, very lucky. It wasn't until I used the fire extinguisher that the alarm went off, and then that was loud, and I was like, why didn't that wake me up?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's Uranus square the moon indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was
it
a
was
while ago.
it was just funny to me that that was actually the first thought that went through my mind.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. It does get like that.
Not to say, well, and not to say that anything's going to catch on fire during the full moon, but
Well, everything's already catching on fire. I mean, we don't on a collective level, whatever. And it's so hot. I just read the headline some days. It's so hot in Spain that like it's killing tourism. Nobody
oh my God.
wants to go because you can't do anything. It's so hot.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, this, as you mentioned, this is also forest fire season right now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes when they say how many fires are burning, I think, oh my God, like what is that? Like, oh, so I don't think Uranus is explosive. And that's what, like I hope there's no explosions at
Mhm.
that time because it is going to be the Democratic National Convention. It's the day of their convention, the first day.
Mhm.
Um, so hopefully they're going to pay a lot of attention because you could have Uranus, let's say, square your moon, and you could have said, well, Uranus is squaring my moon. I'm going to take care of these sheets, right? I'm gonna make sure that there isn't, right? And then you would never have known anything,
Yes.
you
Right.
know,
There's
the
mitigation.
revelation would have been that you were aware that you could have spontaneous combustion,
Mhm. Yeah,
right?
and that's what I was gonna say, is that because it can be surprises, and also revelations, it could be that there is, and Mercury's retrograde, which generally means like there's not a lot of action taken or forward movement. It could be a revelation, a huge revelation that happens
It
at
would
the,
be awesome if it's a
yeah,
huge revelation. And um, yeah, I think it's up to us.
right.
I find it very helpful on a very personal level, let's say. So Mars is, annoying the hell out of me because I have to do something I don't want to do, but I do want to do it. I
Mhm.
do and I don't want to do it. It's really Gemini. I'm of two minds, right? And knowing that Mars is making a square in my chart as it's coming to conjunct Jupiter, which will then make a conjunction with my Mercury, like it's like, oh, duh, right? I think that helps me
Mhm.
because then I think, okay, so I'm going to want to react to everything, right? That's Mars is reactive. but I'm not going to let myself. I'm not going to let myself. I'm not going to slam down the phone. Well, not that people slam down phones anymore, but I'm not going to throw my phone across the room. You know, I'm not going to react. I'm not going to dramatize it. I'm not going to feed Mars.
Mhm.
I'm going to make Mars do some heavier lifting.
Right.
Right. And the heavier lifting means I have to think about and be aware of the fact that I'm of two minds rather than just frustrate, you know, rather than just bang my head with frustration because I'm of two minds and I can't resolve it.
Yes.
And I mean, you know, I'm always interested in my own life, but I'm not, I'm not trying to say, you know, that's me, but like, in a way, that's everybody who's feeling the Mars Jupiter conjunction. That's the thing. We're of two minds.
Mhm.
And it's very, we don't like being of two minds. But if we're reactive, you know, then we're in trouble. So if I'm walking down the street and, you know, the bicycles are whizzing by me, I'm not necessarily going to say to each one of them, use your bell, right? Which they should. I mean, some of them could knock you right over.
Right. Yes.
If there was something in the way and I took a side step to the left, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, no, that's exactly it. And that's exactly what I find helpful about astrology is that we can live out our story, or we can, like, you know, without any consciousness, and just feel as though we're being pushed around by the universe or destiny or whatever, or we can become the witness and we can make choices. And
right.
that is the empowering part of it, is that
Right.
those
And being
choices.
the witness doesn't mean sitting on the mountaintop and looking at everything from a disconnected distance.
Right. Exactly. It means, how can I make the highest and best choice for this situation for the benefit of myself and everybody,
Yeah. So it
right?
means quite literally and close to home. I don't like the feeling of being of two minds.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Well, it's interesting you say that, because as a culture, we are very, very polarized, right? We're
Oh
very,
yeah,
very
it's
tribal.
bad. It's good. It's been very bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think um it would do us all well to recognize when we're polarizing, right? Or like on this side or that side, or this side or that side, and try to um not try to, but just notice. Just notice.
It's the noticing. It's the awareness changes everything.
Hmm. Hmm. It does. It does. And if Mars is the match, we want to be very conscious about whether or not we throw match on a fire or gasoline, or if we use that fire, that spark, to inspire us, to motivate us. Oh, I saw the most beautiful expression of Mars today. Um, it was so touching. And I was like, that is a great use of testosterone. Um, I saw this man in a walker who was very frail trying to cross the street, and the light changed and a truck started to move and the traffic started to move. And this young man jumped out of nowhere and just started directing traffic. And then another guy came and he put his car in the way to block traffic so that this man could walk across the street. And they were very male about it. And I was
Oh,
like,
I love it. That's so fun. Yeah.
it's the right way for Mars to act.
Mars is traffic. Gemini rather is traffic. Gemini is traffic.
Oh my God, that's a perfect example of Mars in
Couldn't
general.
be more perfect. It's perfect. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was really nice to see. Yeah. So
Really
yes,
good.
so choice, right? How are we going to use these elements? How are we going to direct it? Like, we are going to make the choices, not with our awareness.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I love it.
I do too. Yeah, so that's the Gemini part. And the Uranus part is, I think everybody's on edge, you know, in terms of things like the heat and the climate change and all that stuff. And, you know, we live in our, if we're lucky, we live in our sort of protected little bubbles. Some bubbles are more protective than others. And so there's something about the Uranus, the full moon square Uranus, etc., Mercury, cazimi, that's going to make us more aware of the fact that our bubbles are not impermeable.
Mhm. How do you see that? Because the full moon is going to be in Leo and Aquarius.
The sun will be in Leo and the moon will be in Aquarius and Uranus will be in Taurus.
Okay, and then the cazimi will
Is
be
in Leo. So Mercury and the sun are together.
okay. Right. Okay.
So it's a strong focus.
Mhm.
It's a strong focus. The whole world is going to be watching the Democratic National Convention. And I mean, I don't even like to focus on American politics, but it's what is right now.
Mhm.
And, you know, Kamala is everything, right? She's everything. She's a brat and she's a prosecutor and she's going to be president, right? Whoa. And that full moon isn't exactly on her Jupiter, but it's squaring her Jupiter, but she has a Jupiter Saturn square, and the full moon is activating the Jupiter Saturn square.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
think it's going to be a lot about that. And Biden's sun is in that full moon also. So yeah, their personalities are in there quite a bit.
That reminds me, Julie, the last election you did a course on the election where we looked at the day of the elections chart, and then we looked at each candidate's chart, and you broke
Yeah,
it.
and then the inauguration this year, the inauguration chart is what we have to really look at also.
Okay. And would you be just you don't have to commit to anything right now.
I would totally do that. I would
Okay.
love to do that.
And
Because
people can
the way my mind works, I gather it all in and I have some idea about it, but in the sharing with people, it comes alive.
right,
Yeah.
right.
No, I'd be happy to do that. I will be happy to do that.
And if people want to write in the comments section if they would want to come and, questions that they have or questions that they want to know,
Well, you
that
and I
would be
should cook it up and we'll offer it to people very specifically.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I like it.
Maybe we'll have an ask me anything about the election.
I think we should. I think we
Yeah.
should.
We're just creating this in the moment, so we'll see what we have. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, put your comments in the peanut gallery down below. So, okay. I think that's enough to chew on. And
I think that's enough to chew on. And yeah, we should come back again after the 19th of August.
okay. Okay,
And see what we're chewing on. We'll see what we're chewing.
what's happening. Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Hopefully we'll have swallowed by then, but
I want to say just PS, Trump's Mars and ascendant
yes.
are at a degree that's affected by that full moon. And so is Putin. No, is it Putin? Netanyahu's Mars is also at that degree. So yeah, lots to pay attention to. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make this up.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Julie. Excited to talk to you again.
Same here.
Bye.
Bye.